Good morning. I'm Karen.
I'm Catherine, and welcome to Coffee with Milk. I think that went well. I think it went well. I like it.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
this one girl right here, she be trying to make her appearance.
I say let her if she wants
You say
to.
let her.
Yeah, heck yeah, no fighting.
uh, Alrighty, well, so today, welcome everybody. I hope you guys are enjoying yourself so far. We are here starting our podcast. I didn't think we were going to do this because I kind of mentioned it to you, Karen, in brief passing. I was like, I hope Karen doesn't think I'm crazy for wanting to start a podcast with her.
Of course not. I am very excited. I think we're pretty interesting people. We have a lot of good things to say and talk about.
Right? I feel like we make amazing podcast partners personally.
Absolutely.
Also, I feel like with our age range, we can give advice from like the newer generations and the older generations. Give two
Yeah,
like ends of the spectrum of age.
right,
So
right. I
I
think she
feel
just called
like
me old, but that's okay.
no. She's
No,
gonna
I'm
call my
joking.
husband and be like, please, I'm begging, divorce her. What do I
She's
gotta
calling me
do?
old. I'm on the older end of the So
No.
I am. I know I am. It just kind of stings a little bit when somebody else
If it makes you feel any better, your oldest is gonna be 31, so
it doesn't. It doesn't
doesn't
make
make
me
you.
feel any
Your
better.
youngest is gonna be 16. Does that make you
I
feel
know.
young?
How does that happen? I get older and I don't. It's awesome.
Hey, you could be like my mom when her youngest is gonna be 26 this year. I'll be 26, so
Yeah.
it feels weird. Isn't Bethany supposed to be 30 in like 2 years?
Yeah. Bethany will be 29 this year.
Mm, look at her
Hmm.
go. She's thriving.
I
She's
was so young when I had my first two.
so young and
I really
youthful.
wasn't.
If it makes you feel any better, I have like a group of friends who are like moms on top of being like humans. And so they keep telling me that it's my turn next, and I keep telling them they have to buy me a house if they want it to be my turn next.
Yeah.
I'm like, y'all are capable of having more than one.
It is nice to have a house when you're ready to start your family, but you're already a family, you and Adam.
Me and
I
my
think some
children.
people feel like you have to add kids to your situation in order for you to be a family. I I gotta quit using my air
Cool.
quotes, but
I mean, you're not
I'm
wrong.
aging myself here. But you're already a family. You have your own home. You have the same last name.
Mm,
Um,
we do.
you're already each other's person. So adding children to it is just adding to your family.
True.
Yeah.
That's a very good look at outlook on it. My biggest thing is I view it more of the like why are you so pressed about what I'm doing kind of viewpoint of it. Um because I kind of align with yours where it's like Adam and I are just as much of a family as if we were to have kids or not. Like
Hmm.
according to the law, we're family now. Like he's
Okay.
my like significant other, he's my husband,
Hmm.
he's my
Y'all are
spouse,
gonna
he's
make
my
this
emergency
decision together.
contact.
Yeah,
My
exactly.
beneficiary. Like
Right, right.
he's my everything. So I
Exactly.
definitely view it like that, but I'm also kind of like why are you so pressed about what I do with my like marriage?
Yeah,
Like it's
yeah.
my
Well, here's my advice is don't don't take advice from people that aren't living
Mhm.
in your house or paying your bills
I'm
or
clipping that.
supporting, you in some way other than loving you and giving you emotional support. Every situation is different, every family is different, and it doesn't, back years ago, people used to think people got married really young and they started having children really young. And if you didn't, you were almost viewed as there was something wrong with you. And
Hmm.
I do think that the mindset has definitely taken a back seat, and people now don't think that way quite so much, but there are still some. Oh, when are you gonna
Hmm.
have kids? When are you gonna have kids? I don't know. It's difficult for someone that say maybe they don't want children or maybe they can't have
Hmm.
children. Sometimes
Hmm.
people just put that out there like it's your business, it's their business to find out what
Right.
you're up to, and they don't know what you've got going on. They don't know what your goals and your decisions are
Mhm.
within your household. So
For
people need
sure.
to think about, before they start asking those personal questions,
Yes.
really
Well,
not
like
be.
I see it like I see the question come from a multitude of generations. Like I see it come from like the older generation, but I've seen it a lot with younger generations, especially with friends who already have kids. Like they
Mhm,
want to I think like not to speak because I don't have kids, but I feel like it can be very isolating at times when you have kids and you see all your friends who are married and
mhm,
still being able to go out and do stuff as a couple where you don't get to do that because you have kids. So I can understand where they're kind of like, when are you gonna have kids? Because we can have play dates so we can get together and
right.
stuff. But I also to bounce off like the whole like you don't know what our plans are.
Mhm,
Like, I like how my first our first step was already so deep already. But, like, you don't know if they have a medical condition. Like myself, I have a
mhm,
medical condition that involves fertility issues and stuff like that. And I didn't realize how sensitive I would be about the topic until I got married. Like when I found out about my like like issues, like I cried because I was like, "Oh my gosh, I don't know if we have kids or not." But now that I'm married, it's like said in even more that like this is
mhm,
about to be one of the biggest roller coasters we're ever gonna have to go on if we
right.
wanna have kids, because I know sometimes with, like, my medical condition, you can have kids still and, like and
Mhm,
not be whatever, like, you can be a fertile little myrtle, or
right.
you can have to use IVF, or
Right.
in some instances, you just can't have kids at all.
Mhm.
So, it's like, the longer I'm married, the more I feel like I get sensitive about it because 'cause I'm like, "It's none of your
Yeah.
business," and I'm like
Right, exactly.
I
People
also
don't know.
I wanna like I feel like people forget that you need to have that adjustment period between because like your relationship comes in stages like you're dating and then you're engaged and then you get married and then you have kids. Like it's a whole set of stages and you've got to like be able to live in each stage before you like advance too quickly. Because if you advance too
Right.
quickly, that's when like you start having those problems in your
Yeah,
relationship, I
I
feel
think
like.
that it goes back to every family is different. And
Mhm.
so someone their plan might be, we don't want to get married, but we want to have kids, or we want to get married, we don't want to have kids.
Mhm.
We want to get married, get a house, have kids. No two situations are going to be exactly the same. You have to do what's right for you as a
Mhm.
couple. And it's okay if you want to wait. Children take a lot of your time and energy. They
Mhm.
are helpless. And your whole job, your whole goal is to get them to be independent. But that
Mhm.
doesn't happen until, they're always going to need something until they are adults, even as
Right.
teenagers.
Mhm.
They may not have a job, so you need to provide them housing.
Right.
There's always something. Yes, you're
Mhm.
working towards that independence, but um, that's a big undertaking. So
Mhm.
it's not just adjusting to a newborn. You have to think long term. Okay,
Mhm.
we're going to have baseball games and we're going to have band practice and holiday
Okay, okay.
programs and all those things that
Mhm.
take your time that can take away and do take away from your marriage.
Right.
So you have to know that going in, that yes, this is going to be challenging, and it's going to be so important that we set aside time for ourselves as
Mhm.
a couple. Without the children, it sounds selfish, but it's not. It is what will sustain you,
Mhm.
to make sure that you make each other a priority. So to think about, what you were saying about your brother and sister-in-law, and they've been married a few years and now they've decided to have children, but they have had a lot of time to do things that they want to do together as a
Mhm.
couple, to travel, to, whatever it is they enjoy.
Mhm.
So, like I said, everyone's different, but you have to find what's going to work for you. Just know that when the children come, it's going to be a totally different lifestyle.
For sure. Yeah, that's one of the biggest things we learned in our marriage counseling was to always prioritize your relationship over your relationship with your kids to like an
Mm-hmm.
extent. Because at the end of the day, your kids do move out. They
Mm-hmm.
typically don't, I shouldn't say all of them leave. We do have some people who don't leave, which In this economy, I'm not judging one single
Right,
bit. In
exactly.
this economy,
We're
stay
all
with
just
your
trying to survive.
parents. Stay with your parents as long as you can. But I feel like at the end of the day, you really need to prioritize your marriage because at the end of the day, once your kids leave, it's just the two of you again. You've got to
Right.
like be able to make sure you still have that common ground. So once your kids
Mhm.
leave, you're not so like miserable and it's too quiet and there's not enough
Right,
going on. Um,
right.
like I witnessed it with my own parents. God bless their soul. They definitely prioritized us children over their own relationship for a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
And they were very fortunate enough to be a part of that like percentage of falling in love again and really being able to work on their relationship, but sometimes it just
Hmm.
doesn't work out. And it's
Right.
really disheartening because, like being able to watch my parents rediscover love within each other again has been so magical and so beautiful.
Hmm.
And
They
it
really
also
are.
well,
They're
you also
beautiful.
stand on the aspect in my sense. I'm always afraid that like I was part of the reason why they didn't have like that love. But now that I'm married and had that like marriage counseling, I learned it was just because they prioritized us too
Hmm.
much. Like you obviously have
Right.
to prioritize your children to the extent of like you got to make them independent and all that. But
Right,
at the
right.
end of the day, your marriage is the most important relationship, even when it
Hmm.
comes to your kids, because they also
Right.
need to witness you guys be in love.
Exactly. That's exactly what I was going to say. They need to see what good examples are and what you
Hmm.
can do. And in my situation, I hope that my children learn what not to do. Um, after
Hmm.
more than one failed marriage, I accept my responsibility for those not going well and not working out. Um,
You're crazy.
but I there were times where I thought I don't want my children um, to think that this is what
Mhm.
it's always like. It's
Yeah.
not always like this. There are good marriages, and
Mhm.
there are people where both people really want to work on the marriage and the relationship and make it stronger. And
Mhm.
I that was always one of my biggest fears about my children is that they would only remember the bad stuff, and that would
Mhm.
scare them so much that they might shy away from something maybe that they wanted, but they were scared to get
Right.
into marriage.
Well,
And
lucky for you.
yeah, I think I mean, um, Adam took his time
Mm.
to decide
Took too
and
much
to,
time.
but I think that while it seemed like, oh my gosh, is he ever gonna make a decision? I'm
Does he
sure it's
love me
probably
or
what you were
not?
thinking.
Uh-huh.
You know, I would have supported him if he wanted to marry you after he knew you a year.
Mhm.
But I feel like him waiting 5 years and then saying, okay, yeah, I'm ready. I don't think it didn't have anything to do with you. He knew you were the one. I think he
Mhm.
just needed to make sure he was ready and that
Yeah,
he was ready to get into a situation that
for
he'd
sure.
seen his mom not do so well with. So, I
Yeah,
don't, yeah,
yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Oh my
no,
god. This is
no,
gonna be a lot of cutting each other off, and I hate that, but I guess that's the whole point of podcasts, right? To quickly get off of this topic, I figured we could do a fun little segment and talk about since it's coffee with milk, and talk about
mhm,
our coffees that we're drinking.
absolutely.
If you wanted to, I thought it
Yeah,
would be a fun little
definitely.
thing if you want to go first.
Yeah. You want me to tell you now to
So,
start
yeah,
my
if you want to
coffee?
go ahead and let
Okay.
us know what you got, girl.
Well, I have a couple of different favorite coffees. I generally make my coffee in the morning
Hmm. Hmm.
um, before work. So I'll make a big travel mug worth of
Mood.
coffee, and I drink
Mood.
some at home, and then I take
Hmm.
the rest with me. My two favorites are Cafe Bustelo,
Ooh.
excellent, excellent coffee, not too expensive.
Hmm.
And my other one is chock full of nuts. So
Hmm.
I'm giving my age away here a little bit because that's like old school coffee, old people coffee, but it's so good. Um, so I started a new thing about putting honey in my coffee,
Ooh.
and it's so good.
Mhm.
So I have some honey in there, and then
Mhm.
a couple of my favorite coffee creamers. I have an oat milk creamer,
I love me good oat
and my
milk.
other one is nut pods. There's a brown sugar one that has zero
Ooh.
dairy.
Mm-hmm.
I like dairy. Dairy doesn't like me, so we have to go easy on the dairy. So when you find one that's dairy free, that's what you buy.
I
So
love
you're
when we
gonna
have
tell us what you're drinking.
let's say, I love when we have technical difficulties. That's my favorite. If you know me, real quick to sidetrack. So when I like stream on Twitch, I always have a technical difficulty with my audio. It's never like it's like become my niche. Like everybody always knows what's our technical difficulty today, and it's always something to do with audio. I don't know what it is, but me and audio with Twitch are never friends. Either that or I hit my foot against my desk. I'm always like, ah, my foot. And people are like, there it is for the day. And I'm like, no, why do you all hate me? Anyways, so, fun fact about me, I am an iced coffee girly. It could be like it is outside today, 4 degrees, and I'm like, iced coffee, please. I think it's just the body, the body weight alone. I'm just I'm
You're
a
just a warm girl
I'll
that likes
say,
your iced
your
coffee.
child loves to put his hands on like just anywhere. Like he could put it like here, like on my sides, and he's just immediately like, "Thank you, warmth." Like he will hop under the blanket and he'll be like, "It's so warm in here," and I'm like, "You're welcome."
Are his hands cold?
Yes,
Mine too. Always.
his
Mike is like, you couldn't be any colder if you stood outside for 3 hours. How do you do
literally.
it? I was like, I don't
He's
know.
I don't know. He's always so cold, and I'm like, "Stop it! Why
Me
do you hate
too.
me?"
He's my child for sure.
For sure. But today we have international. I forget what it is. Let me look it up real quick. We were originally supposed to get. I usually like the Boston Stoke that they have, Stoke, whatever they have.
Hmm.
But today he went a little not cheaper because it tastes really good. It's very delicious. But it was like on the cheaper side because
Hmm.
the economy couldn't care less. About young people enjoying their coffee. Ugh. It's the International Delight Caramel Macchiato Iced Coffee. I'm
Very nice.
almost halfway through.
We have a little visitor. Oh, hello.
Queen!
That's my child, the
Hello!
little baby girl.
I love you literally so
She's
much. I would
lying in
do
my lap,
anything for you.
purring.
Purring. Where's my child? He's not in here anymore. He usually, like I said, he likes to sit in that chair. I don't know where. He's probably still getting the zoomies. He's a goofy goober, if I've ever met one. She's so cute. I love her.
She is too. She already made biscuits for us this morning, so I'm
Oh,
excited to try those.
I love when she makes biscuits. They're the best. Wouldn't buy
They
them from
are.
anybody else, personally.
I'm a little biscuit maker.
So she makes
She's taken
biscuits.
over.
Your
What's that?
fur grandchildren do not typically make biscuits. Oreo was our main
Mm-hmm.
biscuit maker, and unfortunately, tomorrow is the 1 year anniversary of his passing. So
Oh,
I've been a little more emotional
very
than I thought
cool.
I would about it being
Yeah.
like that. Like I think it's because it felt like this past year was like 20 years mixed into one because of planning the wedding.
There
That
was so
I
much going on.
so much going on that I feel like at this point now that we've been able to take the time to like really like soak everything
Stop it.
in,
Mm-hmm.
it's like hit me a lot harder that it's like tomorrow is
Yeah.
officially that 1 year anniversary. It's like I feel like he's been gone
Mm-hmm.
forever, and I also feel like we just put him down, so it's been like a lot.
Right.
And I'm
Right.
just like I was at the gym the other day crying, and I'm like, nobody look at
Oh.
me.
I think that's the thing about grieving, though, whether it's a pet that you've had
Hmm.
for years and years. How many years? 15.
15. Time forever.
Or a loved one or a friend, is that grieving. I don't think you ever stop grieving. It just, but you hear people say it comes in waves, and it does.
Hmm.
I think it's certain things will remind you, certain things will trigger those memories, and
Hmm.
then next thing you know, you're crying in the gym,
Hmm.
because you just don't know what's gonna come into your mind and make you think. So,
Hmm.
yeah,
Yeah, it
y'all have had a
was.
very busy year. So,
It's such a busy year. It's been a
yeah.
really great year. And I think 2024 is going to be another really great year. I just can feel it in my
Mhm.
gut that it's about to be another really, really great
Good.
year.
That's
It's
great.
been so chaotic constantly. So like the fact that the last 2 weekends I've been able to literally just sit around and do nothing. It's been like I've been able to
What
like
a gift.
really, it's definitely a major gift, especially after
Hmm.
spending every weekend planning a wedding. um
Right. Right.
but yeah, it's been nice. It's been nice kind of just sitting around, just hanging out.
Hmm.
We did date night this past Friday.
Oh, nice. What did
Um
you do?
we went out to dinner to Cheddar's, and then we went to this fun little local barcade because fun fact about my husband, he is a major video gaming nerd. In case for all our podcast listeners, he's a massive video gaming nerd. He could talk about video
I
games
didn't know
forever.
that.
I had no idea. Buys him a
I was not
computer.
aware.
What? But so
Started with the Nintendo, Super Nintendo.
he still has his GameCube actually. He wants to try and restore it. It's
Awesome.
just we've been dealing with a lot this past year,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
we're hoping that this
Absolutely.
year we can like take a minute and like do the stuff that we really wanted to do last year but
Hmm.
couldn't because either saving money or saving or our time was being placed elsewhere,
Right.
which was
Right.
worth it. Like, not to scare anybody away from getting married by any means. It was extremely worth it. I'm so beyond over the moon still that I got to marry my best friend. It was just like it's a lot. It can be, and for me, an anxiety girly, it's even worse. Like, I had to refrain from just gnawing at my fingers for months because I had like, because you had got us like a fidget toy or whatever for Christmas the previous year, and then
Mhm.
you got us anxiety rings, and you bet your bottom dollar I'm sitting at work just doing everything I can from picking at my nails because I was like, I want to have my nails as natural
Mhm.
as possible for this wedding. So I was doing
Right.
everything in my power not to just destroy my hands all year long.
Yeah. My anxiety go-tos are, I think, messing with my hair. I'm a necklace flipper.
Mm-hmm.
Um, what else do I do? I'll bounce my leg.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's one of my anxiety ones. Of course, crying. That's a good go-to. I do that one a lot.
That's my number one.
Yeah, that's number one.
It's my number one releaser. My therapist actually recommends it, so
I mean, and there's nothing wrong with a good cleansing cry.
there's nothing
Usually
wrong.
feel better after.
It's funny because I feel like sometimes I feel like a psychopath when I'm trying to make myself cry, but I'm like, I know I need to cry. Like, it's just, I'm
Hmm.
so another like really big thing for me is my jaw. I clench my jaw like it's nobody's business. How I don't have an amazing jawline is beyond me. These muscles are working overtime to the
Yeah.
point where I last year, fun fact about me, podcasters, last year we went to Karen's to surprise Adam's little brother for his birthday. And then we got back that Monday and we took a nap. And I woke up and I thought I completely dislocated my jaw because I couldn't close it. And I was like, what is happening? So the next day I went to the dentist and they're like, it's not dislocated. You just suffer from anxiety. You're clenching your jaw so severely
Hmm.
in your sleep that your muscles are so tired that they just don't want to work anymore.
It's
So.
true that I was having jaw pain, and when I went to the dentist, they said, they asked, do you grind your teeth? And I said, I don't think so. I said, but I have woken up before and my teeth are just like clamped shut so
Mhm.
hard that I'm like, oh, wow, I didn't realize. So now I almost like have to consciously make myself not do that. And it did
Mhm.
finally, the jaw pain finally went away. I
Mhm.
had to get a mouth guard and all that for sleeping, but I wear sometimes.
I wear
But
mine every night. I have
do
to,
you?
or I it's
That's
still
good.
so bad. Well, mine's still so bad. Like if I did one night not using it and I fully regretted it the next day because I'm even with it sometimes I still wake up in so much pain because I'm just my
Mhm.
this economy has me so anxious. That I'm like, I don't know how we're gonna do anything. I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to survive.
Yeah.
And then my
Oh.
jaw gets the
Mhm.
unfortunate horribleness of my anxiety
Yeah.
kicking in.
Trust me, I have. back when Adam and Bethany were younger, especially, I would lose many hours of sleep just stressing about
Mhm.
money and life and work and just everything. And I
Everything.
would just lie awake trying to figure out how I was going to resolve at least one of my issues.
Mhm.
Just, yeah. So now I guess um, I don't I don't stress so much about things, and my situation's a lot different now. Um, but apparently, when I am stressing, I'm still sleeping. I'm just clenching my jaw.
Right? Like apparently
I'm
my
off on
body's like,
medication now, so that helps.
right. Medication does help. Don't let anybody ever, to our listeners, do not ever let anybody try and convince you if you take medicine or medication for your depression, anxiety, that you're not strong. You're not a strong person. I take anxiety all the time and I like to think I'm the strongest person in the room sometimes.
Mhm.
So there is literally nothing wrong whatsoever with
Right?
taking medication for your anxiety and
Absolutely.
depression
Absolutely.
whatsoever. Sometimes you just need that extra help. Sometimes your brain,
Right.
whether
Right.
I'm a full believer you need to, like, everybody could use a little help with therapy. I think anybody and everybody can benefit from at least a
Absolutely.
therapy session. There's nothing
Hmm.
wrong with it. But sometimes therapy isn't the only thing that can help you. I think you should go to therapy and take medication? I don't think it's not a bad idea. My doctor refused to put me on medication until I went and saw a therapist, and I'm very thankful for that because I've been able
Hmm.
to like build that bond with my therapist. But there's still nothing wrong with doing either or doing both. Just
Right.
always know taking
Absolutely.
care of your mental health is a very important factor in
Yes.
your existence. And I'm personally a full believer that if you're not taking care of your mental health, you're not going to want to take care of your physical health because your brain is where it
Hmm.
starts. Your brain is the main, like, it's your main hub. So if your brain isn't in it, you're not, the rest of you isn't going to be in it. So I feel like if you're
Exactly.
not taking care of your mental health and you're not going to take care of your physical health, then you should take
Hmm.
care of both. But
Right.
maybe that's
I
just me.
mean, if someone had high blood pressure and was taking medication, none of us would question that. Why are you
Right.
taking that? Why don't you just get over that?
Right.
It's the same thing when it comes to depression, anxiety, whatever
Mm-hmm.
your mental health situation is. We're not all,
PTSD. Yep.
none of us are wired perfectly. So
No.
we all have things that are in need of some support one way or
Mm-hmm.
another. So if it's medication,
It's medication.
that's what your doctor, your therapist, your psychiatrist, whomever, if that's what if you have trusted them enough to go to
Mm-hmm.
them for their assessment of you, and they're the ones that went to med school and they're the ones that are the experts,
Yes.
they probably know what they're talking about. So if you're paying them,
Yes.
you do what they tell you. And if you don't agree
Mm-hmm.
with what they're saying, that's okay. Maybe you find somebody else, that
Mm-hmm.
you feel like is more in tune with you and
Right.
your situation.
For
That's okay
sure.
too.
Let's see. Some medical professionals, they're humans just like the rest of us. Sometimes their
Mhm.
assessment isn't completely accurate of who you may be or what you may feel. So there's no problem with getting a second opinion by any means.
Right.
But there's just no problem in general with getting a general assessment altogether. And I just feel like mental health is such a taboo in this world anymore. Like everybody wants to talk about it, but nobody knows, like nobody wants to believe you at the same time, if that makes any sense. Like you can be like, "Oh, I have depression, anxiety," and people will be like, "Okay," and which to an extent, yeah, it can be like I'm a full believer when it comes to mental health that your problems are still important. They may not be important to somebody else, but they're still important because they're your problems. And
Right.
there's nothing wrong with that. Like,
Right.
yeah, just because so and so may have been dealt a worse hand than you doesn't mean that your problems aren't important at all. Your problems are
Right.
still important, but just like there's nothing, like, because they're your problems. They're allowed to be
Hmm.
important to you.
And you
And
need to take care of them. That
right.
makes me think of a time several years ago. I was having a lot of medical issues and I was
Mhm.
very anemic. I had been in the hospital, had to get some blood. Fast forward, I had to see what's the term? The doctor that, um, I can't remember, but they were in the same building with oncologists.
Mhm.
So my doctor was to um, keep it check on my anemia, and
Mhm.
so he had me going in to get these IV iron infusions.
Hmm.
So
Mhm.
I go in and I'm in the waiting room with all of these people who the majority have cancer. They're there to see the
Mhm.
oncologist. I'm there
Mhm.
to see the other doctor that I
Right.
can't remember the name of. Um, and so I was like, wow, I felt so much guilt because I'm
Mhm.
like, I don't have it nearly as bad as
Right.
the rest of these people. And then I go in for my infusion and I'm seeing people in there and they're having chemotherapy and they don't have hair and they're just doing the best they can to get through. And it made me, one, very thankful.
Mhm.
It made me very humbled because I was like, wow, some days I think I have it bad and I see people that have it a lot worse.
Mhm.
But I still have a medical issue that needs
Right.
attention. And if
Right.
I don't address it, I'm not going to be well.
Right.
So, to compare that to what you were saying about the mental health issue, yes, my situation, I might have anxiety and certain, and it's worse sometimes than others.
Mhm.
That doesn't sound, a lot of people have anxiety, a lot
Right.
of people have depression compared to someone who is so ill that now they have to be in the hospital
Mhm.
because of their mental illness. I think, wow, well, I don't have it as bad as them. I can get through this. Maybe I just need to think more positively or something.
Right.
It's not that easy,
It's not.
and there's nothing wrong with helping yourself when it's mild or moderate, your
Mhm.
mental health issues, than to wait until it's much worse. And next thing you know, you're the person that has to be in the
Mhm.
hospital. So think of it that way as well. Put it in perspective. Yes, I'm grateful that there's
Right.
medication that can help me. There are therapists that can help
Mhm.
me. There are friends, podcasts, whatever it is that can help me. I need to take charge and get the help that I need
Mhm.
because then I'll be able to help other people as well.
Right.
I need to
Mhm.
try to work on it here before
Mhm.
it's way over
Right. For sure. And I also think another big thing to touch on is to like to be okay with not knowing where to start with helping yourself. Talk to your primary care physician. They're going to have a general knowledge of where to send you and all that. And my primary care physician was beyond amazing. He was so I like approached it so awkwardly because it's like he's a man, and it can be uncomfortable to talk to a man about like from a female split, not by any means to say a man cannot be assaulted. I have a lot of I have family members who are males who have been assaulted, but I was like, he's just my primary care physician. I feel like what would he know per se? But he was one of the most knowledgeable people out of everybody aside from my therapist when it came to like my mental health help. He was so funny. He was like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like I'm crying in his office, and he's like, I think he was kind of panicking because he was like, we were having a normal conversation. What is going on? And I broke down and I told him that I had just been assaulted like I think a week or two prior, and like I'd been assaulted my whole life, not like my whole life, but like throughout my life, I've unfortunately been in those situations too many times that should be allowed on this planet Earth. And he was so good about it. He's like, I've got a list of therapists. He's like, I want you to go see them. He's like, I will be tracking with the therapist your sessions and everything. And then once like you've hit that point, because he was like, I want you to see a therapist like for 5 sessions before we officially prescribe with you with Zoloft. I take Zoloft. And he's like, he's like, I want you to see somebody. He's like, I want to make sure you've established a relationship with somebody before I put you on anything. Because he's like, I don't want to risk putting you on something that you may just need to talk to somebody to. Because that's another thing is sometimes they may not want to
Mhm.
put you on something because it may just be you needed to talk to somebody. So he's like, I want to see it through first. And so I did because I was like, I want to see it through too. I'm like, I need somebody. So there's literally nothing wrong, and it
Right.
absolutely don't ever let yourself get to the point, like you said, to where you're now the person in the hospital. But just always know, to our listeners, I know we're just some random women on the internet that you'll probably never meet in person, which hopefully maybe one day you will. If you do, I'm very excited about that. But anyways, always know you have support on this little corner of the internet, no matter what. Like, you don't have to message us, you don't ever have to say anything to us. Just always know we're rooting for you to take care of yourself. Um, because sometimes it can be very isolating when you feel like you've got nobody there. So it's like, well, what's the point if I have nobody supporting me? So always know, even if you feel like you've got nobody, you've got somebody. And you're probably like, you're some random ladies on the internet. You're never gonna know my situation, and it's just know, even though we're some random ladies on the internet, we're still gonna care about you and we support you through your healing process.
Absolutely.
Oh my gosh, I love we're just gonna do a little introduction podcast. Just introduce ourselves, talk about what we love about each other, and we're just out here like conversation
We've
flowing like it's
switched
nobody's
topics
business.
maybe 3 times already or so. I don't even know. But
That's okay.
it's okay. That's kind of we're just here to talk and
That's like the whole point of
talk
a
about
podcast.
things important to us. We figure if they're important to us, they might be important
Important
to
to
someone
somebody
else.
else. I asked some of your number one fans, Karen, about podcast ideas they'd love to hear.
Okay,
So I've
let's
got
see
a
what they
list
have.
already. I figured we can definitely meet for those later. I'm not ending the podcast now, by the way. I'm just letting you know.
Oh, okay,
But
okay.
I definitely saw a lot of self love and body positivity
Mhm.
ones, so I definitely think that would be a really good one to touch on.
Definitely.
I had another one, which I thought was such a really cute idea that we'll have to do.
Okay.
Somebody was talking about, I was like, we're gonna do fun and serious topics, so give me some
Hmm.
fun ones. And then like one of the number one was, what are recipes you raised your kiddos on, and like
I
give
love
us some
that.
like
I love
recipes
that.
and stuff, and like just raising your kids with food, like just that kind of stuff. I was
That's
like, that's so cute.
awesome.
What, I love
I'm
that.
very excited about
So
that.
we'll have to do that as well. Hey, hello, stinky boy.
Hi, Mr. Espresso Bean.
Are you a big
Good
tinky boy
morning,
today?
sir.
He's been so goofy. Are you a goofy boy? Are you a silly boy? You're falling asleep, aren't you? Yes, you were. Are you the good boy today? So I've had the zoomies. He's chased everybody around.
Oh,
He's
so now you guys take a break.
all
Take
right.
a
He's
nap.
just like freaking out, yelling at Adam. I heard him out there yelling at
Oh,
Dad. Were you yelling at Dad? Yes, you were to be the
he's
boy.
alive.
You took a boy today. Don't go bye byes. His tail's flicking like he wants to go, but he won't like leave. You have full range. There you go. It's like you have
Oh,
full
there
range to
we go.
leave. You're gonna stay on the
I'm
desk
getting
though, aren't you?
closer.
Yes, you are. Hello,
Excuse me.
Olive. Hello,
Getting
Queen.
back to other people. Sorry.
Olive, we're trying to have a serious conversation.
Ma'am,
Ma'am, this is not your episode to be recorded.
you
I
can say
love
hello, but you can't block
Queen.
the camera.
I love you. She's so cute. I want to come steal her for like a
Oh,
weekend.
how many days I would just ship her to you. Huh.
I'll ship espresso to you. We'll ship our cats to each other. Although Carrot Cake would probably bully her to death.
Oh,
Carrot Cake hates female cats. For a cat that's so timid around espresso, especially, he hates female. He will put them in their place, and I'm like, you are on something else, good sir. Like he,
sorry, I just disappeared.
oh
She
no,
made
you're
a
fine.
microphone.
Like he with my parents' cat, when we would like babysit, like house watch her or whatever, or like they would bring
Mhm.
her to us and we would like pet sit her. I was like, what the heck is the word? We would have to put her in the bathroom for the weekend because he hated her. Would do anything
Oh,
in his power, and he does that with every female cat. So until Carrot Cake dies, we can never have a female cat in our
oh,
apartment or our house because he
he
hates
has
female
fun.
cats.
Well, he's still adorable with his little boots
Like his little boots,
or
his little
white boots.
sockies. He's
I
so
love him.
goofy. He's been so snuggly lately, and I think it's because he knows it's cold out, so he just wants to lay
Yeah,
on everybody. Which he
yeah.
was so funny the other night. We were laying in bed, like we were in bed sleeping, and he woke Adam up. He's a hefty boy. For all of our podcast listeners, he's a hefty boy. He
Oh,
is.
Tonker.
He's chonk to the max. Like he's a hefty boy. He is not light on his feet. He puts all of his weight behind his jump, and so he jumped on Adam and woke Adam up. And of course, Adam's like, ugh. And so he like
I make
was
that same noise when I was like,
and so he was petting him, and then he walked over to walked on top of me, which that surprisingly didn't wake me up. What woke me up is he started he likes to take his paw and starts batting my nose and then bats my mouth. I'm not kidding you. He does that. Like he starts going to my mouth and nose, and then he bashes his skull into my nose to wake me up. And of course, I
right.
wake up to like a broken nose, basically, by this
What do you
cat.
want? Is this like
He
cuddle with
wanted
the nose?
snuggles. He just wanted to
Oh,
snuggle with me. That's all he
oh.
wanted. He just wanted
But he's just
attention.
like gotten wiggled in there between you
That's
or
what
under
I'm
your arm
saying.
or
No,
something.
he literally just wanted to snuggle. That's all he wanted. And that's his way of snuggling. Is when I'm trying to sleep at 4 a.m. in the morning. I'm like
Wow. Well,
you're
we know
lucky.
who
You're
runs
so
your house, don't we?
I'm like, you're lucky you're as cute as you are. Speaking of Kika Thai espresso again. Yes, you're such a goober. He's just laying on the floor being a silly goose. I know when we talked, I know you said you wanted to talk about your favorite things about me. So if you wanted to go ahead and just boost
Oh,
my ego,
okay.
just kidding.
Okay. Well, that
I
little
didn't,
pearl right there. Yeah.
you
So one of
definitely a
the
little
things
more
I
tech
love about
savvy.
you is that you are our techno savvy girl,
I
and
am
you got
tech.
us set up for our podcast.
You're
No,
welcome.
I will
Ugh.
uh, tell you that I do think you are a beautiful person.
Oh,
You are beautiful on the outside, and you are also beautiful on the inside. You
you're-
have a natural beauty um, that you look beautiful without makeup. I've seen you without makeup. Um, you are
I,
stunning.
I'm a stunner.
Um,
I thought
you
for a
are,
second you said you don't have a natural beauty, and I was gonna be like, all
yeah,
right,
so you
podcast
do have
canceled. We're
beauty.
out. Deleting
When I
all
don't have makeup
this.
on, people want to know if I have the flu or COVID or something. Like, you okay? Yeah,
Stop.
I'm all right. Just forgot to put my eyeliner on today.
Well, not to
I'm not
brag.
tired. I'm just not wearing any makeup. But I think that you are a person that can definitely get away with the no makeup look.
Oh,
And you're so versatile with your makeup. I am
I try.
jealous of that. I see people that just their faces are beautifully done, and I think, oh, so beautiful. And I had someone do it for me once, and I was like, oh, I look like all I'm missing is the big red nose and the wig, and then I'll be ready to go to clown school. It just doesn't work for me, but you are very talented at
I'm
that.
watching you because I think you're one of the most beautiful people on this planet, and it blows
Oh,
my mind that you're so self-conscious about it. I would
well,
die to
that's a
look like
whole
you.
nother
That's a whole
topic
nother
that we could get
conversation because
into.
we should definitely get into that.
We will definitely get into that.
Because
Um,
yeah, we won't get into it,
I
but we'll talk about
love that you love my son so much.
it. He's okay, I
There's
guess.
nothing, I don't know if there's anything stronger than a mother's love for her children, but there is
Mm-hmm.
a different, equally strong love that you can have for someone, and that is in your relationship for your person.
Don't
So,
make me cry, Karen.
as a mother, I remember very much when Adam was a baby,
Mm-hmm.
and I was laying on the couch, and he was laying on my chest. He was maybe a month old, maybe 2 months old. And
Baby Adam.
I just remember thinking, I've never felt about a human being the way I do about my child in this moment. Like, now I know what that kind of love is. Like, I couldn't understand it about
Mm-hmm.
parental child love until I had that experience. And in that moment, I remember the exact place that we were when I had this epiphany. And that is a definite strong bond and a
Mhm.
special kind of love.
Mm.
But I also know that you and Adam have that strong bond, and you have your own kind of love
Mhm.
that you have not known until you met him, nor he
Mhm.
until he met you. So I think that's one thing that makes this work for us is that we both love Adam more than
Mhm.
anything, um, but we respect each other's position in his life, and I think
Mhm.
that's one of the things I love about you is that you're not like, well, I'm his wife now, trying to push me out of the way, and I'm not. Well, I'm his mother. I
Right.
will. I loved him first. We don't have
Right.
those feelings towards one another.
Mm-mm.
We just both know that we love Adam, and he's the reason that we know each other and
Right.
we love each other now. So I love that about us, about
Right.
all three of us, is
Mhm.
that we all have our place together and we're
Right.
not in competition with one another. That happens sometimes, I think, in
Right.
law relationships, especially probably mother-in-laws and daughter-in-laws.
Mhm.
I think that there's definitely a place for that to happen, but I love that we are not there. That is not
For
us.
sure. Yeah, no, I definitely got blessed in that extent with my mother-in-law. I feel like if anything, Adam's in competition with me on who loves you more. Cuz it's me. It's always going to be me whether he likes it or not. I win that. That's a competition I win.
Well, I appreciate that a lot. You make me you humble me a lot. You are so sweet and complimentary, and I think if I ever screw up anything really bad, other than shooting you in the face with a
With a
Nerf
Nerf
gun,
gun.
which you won't let me
I
forget.
will never let her forget that. It was the
It's like
day I saw
I
the
feel
dark side
like
of the
you
moon.
hold me up here, and I have to try to, fulfill your expectations of me. It's a
You
lot of
already do.
pressure.
The most magical thing and one of the biggest things I love about you is you don't have to because you already do meet my expectations and above and beyond. That's why I literally don't want to shut up about how much like how amazing you are because you meet my expectations and above and be like you go above and beyond to meet my
Aw,
expectations. And that's why like one of the biggest reasons why I love you. Like you're so graceful and elegant in the way you present yourself. I know you probably don't feel like it's normal not to feel like that, but like to me, you're so elegant and so graceful and just so like
wow.
humble and so just you're just so authentically you in my opinion, and I don't feel
Well,
like
don't, I appreciate that so much. And again, probably a future podcast conversation,
mhm
but um, that I truly appreciate what you're saying. Again, I don't know that I see myself the way
mhm
that you do. I I truly appreciate it, but I will say that I've had to work at being more
mhm
kind and graceful. It doesn't always come natural, but I have recognized some things that I wanted to be, some
mhm
ways that I wanted to be, some ways that I didn't want to be,
right
and so it's been sort of a. I think you can teach yourself
right
new ways of presenting
mhm
yourself to the point that when you do it enough, it just becomes natural. Um,
right
so I think that'll be a really good
really good one
podcast
because I
topic.
definitely think you should head that one because I you wouldn't know in like at all speaking to you that you ever thought ill of a single human being on this planet. Like I'm not kidding you. Literally every person at the wedding who talked to you and then would talk to me, they're like, Karen's literally the best. You weren't wrong. Like I love her so much. And I was like, I know, right? Karen's amazing.
Another thing I love about you is that you're open about who you are and about
Mhm.
what you experience, and you're not ashamed to share things that you struggle with because you want more than anything to help other people. I think it helps you. It's twofold. Um,
Mhm.
it helps you to express it,
Right.
and it helps other people. And I
Mhm.
know that's true about you, with your career goals, your
Mhm.
career path that you're working on. Um, that is a sign of someone that really is is selfless. That you want to do what you can to help other people.
Mhm.
I'm not saying, I mean, we all have our selfish moments and we all want things for ourselves, but I think what you want for yourself is to be able to help other people.
Right.
And I love that about you.
I like to view selfishness sometimes as boundaries. There's nothing
Mhm.
wrong with being quote unquote selfish in certain times, you know.
I have a quote. You'll find this out about me, and our listeners will if you don't know this yet. And this is probably showing my age as well. I'm a huge Pinterest person.
Mhm.
And the reason is it's actually a form of therapy for me, because I
Mhm.
will look at quotes, and I have a lot of Pinterest boards. I have several that are private and they're just for me. And
Mhm.
when I read a quote that resonates with me, I will save it. I have different
Mhm.
topics. One's about working on myself, one's about good advice, things to remember, things like that, that are just things that I want to save.
Right.
It's my online journal. But
Right.
I have a quote that I've saved, and it says, "I'm allowed to do what's best for me,"
Right.
and we are. If that means setting boundaries, if someone sees that as selfish, so be it.
Right.
But I totally agree with you. We are allowed to do what's best for us. We are allowed to set those boundaries because that's what we need to be our
Exactly.
best self.
Right. Like there's absolutely nothing wrong with setting boundaries, you know. A year or so before, I've had to very unfortunately lose friendships with me, and it's not because of Adam, but like within meeting Adam, you know, I've been like prioritizing other things,
Mm-hmm.
and it's one of those where it can suck at times when you lose friendships that you've had for years, and some people view it as like toxic, as like, oh, you're dropping it because you met this man and blah blah blah. But it's like because of meeting Adam, I've been able to recognize that I need to prioritize things
Mm-hmm.
differently within my life. And
Right.
so I've unfortunately had to lose some friends as well, just
Mm-hmm.
because of the boundaries and stuff. And
Right.
it just it's one of those where you can feel like if you feel guilty, you feel sadness. It's almost kind of like you're grieving somebody because it's a
Mm-hmm.
relationship that you've had
Absolutely.
forever, and it
Yes.
sucks because it's like you feel guilty because
Mm-hmm.
of, you know, choosing yourself. Like it can be like for me specifically, it's a lot of guilt of like, should I have picked myself? Should I have been there for her? Should I
Mm-hmm.
have been there for them? Is it kind of like one of those where it's like, am I not doing enough to take care of people? So it sucks, but
Yeah. I have another quote, another Pinterest quote that
mhm.
says, I'll paraphrase because I don't have it in front of me, but basically it's, you shouldn't have to tear off pieces of yourself to keep
Mhm.
someone else whole.
Right.
So if you are giving so much to maintain that relationship in some way, that
Mhm.
friendship, but it's not allowing you to be who you want to be,
Mhm.
then that's not okay. That's not a
Mhm.
good balance.
Mm-mm.
That's not good for you. And
Nope.
it's not good for the friendship.
Nope.
So I totally agree. I think sometimes you do have to break ties. I'm also going to age myself again, but one of my current favorite shows is Frasier. Now, y'all have probably
Mhm.
not even heard of it. It was on back in the 90s, I guess, maybe late 90s. It's on, obviously, you can just stream it.
Mhm.
And I've been watching a lot of it lately. There was an episode yesterday that really resonated with me. So it's these two adult brothers and their father,
Mhm.
and the brothers are psychiatrists. Their father is more of a blue collar,
Mhm.
retired police officer kind of guy. So they're very different personalities.
Right.
But the younger brother, his wife is asking for a divorce, and he's sort of can't decide if he wants to stay or go. She has offered
Mhm.
him an ultimatum
Hmm.
if he wants to stay.
Mhm.
So he's in this. decision.
Mhm.
And the father says to him, the other brother's trying to get him to go. He's like, she's treated you badly all these years. She's
Right.
done only things for herself. She doesn't look out for you. Remember the time she did this, this, and that. And the
Right.
father says, you can't make that decision for him. He needs to
Right.
make it for himself. And then he tells the younger son, he said, if you go up those steps and you decide to go back to her, we will be here to support you.
Right.
But if you walk out the door with us and you never look back, we will also be here to support you. So
Right.
whatever you decide, we're here for you.
Right.
And I have been in relationships, friendships, situations where that wasn't what was presented. It
Mhm.
was, I'm telling you, this is what you need to do. And if you don't do it, I can't support you anymore.
Right.
Those are not the kind of friendships and relationships that I want. And so
No.
that's when I have to set a boundary and say, if I make a decision that you don't agree with, I appreciate your concern, but I need to know that you're here to support me and be my
Right.
friend no
Right. Are you
matter
making
what.
yourself present, good sir? Are you comfortable? Are you
I
happy?
think he blends right in.
I know he does.
It's a chair with ears.
Literally, some green eyes just pop up and look at you every so often. Are you just being a sleepy boy? Hello. He's so sleepy. Now you're sleepy after running around after your brother all morning? I can't with him. He's so freaking cute. Anyways, well, I mean, you already know I could talk about hours literally about you. It's ridiculous. I think you come up in my Twitch at least once a stream. I'm like, guys, you're never gonna guess what Karen did, and they're like,
What did I do? What have I done?
well, the number one thing is you bought us a vacuum cleaner. Like, what was that about?
See, that can go, you could take that either way. You could think, oh, that's so nice. Shoot, that we mentioned that we would like to fix our vacuum or get a new vacuum. Or you could think, oh, she must think we are nasty.
No, we took it as you wanted to fix our vacuum. We always take it as the good route because we know your
Okay, good. I'm
intentions
glad because
genuinely are good.
that
Because
was
like I'm
definitely
just
the
sitting here and I get a text for you and it's like an order and it's the vacuum and I was like, what? What? I was like, why is she buying us a vacuum cleaner? I was
I
like,
hope you love it.
he literally it's so light. It was so funny yesterday. We were trying to figure out because like it was probably like the length of this desk without being
Mm.
extended. So we were kind of like it feels like it should be longer. Like the photos, it looks like it should be way longer than it is. And then we're sitting here puzzled and I see this little like button behind and I was like, I wonder if that's how you extend it. And I did and just extended so much longer and we're like, it's so
Yes.
long.
You won't have to hunch over.
Literally, I'm like, how? I was like when we were first like putting it together, I was like, this is so great. She got us a vacuum cleaner, but why is it so short? But no, when it extended, we were like,
You have to do it on your knees.
literally, you just kind of. But we're so excited because like with our vacuum currently, the like one that we had, you have to like
Hmm.
plug it in and whatever. So it's like we'd have to take it out of every room,
Take the
plug it in
cord,
again.
right?
And like we'd
Yeah.
have to like in the living room, we'd have to unplug it 3 different times just to get the whole
Yeah.
living room. So like with this one, just one foul
Right.
swoop, just get it going. Plus this one,
Yeah.
he carrot cake threw up on the floor yesterday, and so Adam was
Yeah.
cleaning it, and he likes to like
I was
vacuum.
throwing up yesterday too.
Rude. Our babies are sick, but and it picked up so much more than our old vacuum did. We were like, wow, we've been living in how much
Mm.
fur?
That's the thing. Like when no, I don't have any carpet
Mm-hmm.
now in this apartment, but it works really great on the laminate flooring
Mm-hmm.
and on my rugs. I'll just run it over my rugs as well. I take it in the bathroom if I shed a lot. It just
Mm-hmm.
does all that. But the one that you all have is even nicer than mine, and I love mine.
Really?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yours is like I think extra, little extra powerful, so that's good.
I
Yeah,
guess
I'm glad you love
I'll
it.
say guess that's like to like bring to that like I love you or what like the one thing I like about you like the biggest thing is outside of like not to say spoiled but you definitely you have a great memory and you're very 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 kind and considerate and you're always trying to make sure that we're supported through everything like not to completely air out my husband's dirty laundry, but um, we had some medical issues this past year, and we were trying to balance a wedding, getting his medical issues fixed, on top of also planning a honeymoon. And we were like, we're gonna have to cut something, and we didn't want to, but we were gonna have to cut our honeymoon, which. Like, I mean, we could have always taken it later if we didn't want to, but literally, if it wasn't for your support and help, I don't think we would have been able to go this year at all, or in that, or like last year, or even this year, or even the year after. I think it was going to be a honeymoon that was going to be like our 5 year anniversary kind of honeymoon. Finally went on our honeymoon, so we were like, you're so supportive, and you make sure we have everything we need at all times, and quite
Oh,
literally, we will, whether you will like it or not, we will be spending the rest of our lives doing everything we can to repay you back for everything you've done
oh,
for us, because you've done so much for us from day one, which blows my mind. You didn't like, and that's another thing I love about you. You didn't even know me for like the first year of our relationship, and you still did everything to support us that you could.
well, I, I've always told my children,
Mhm.
I will never let you go hungry or homeless. You
Mhm.
always have my support as long as I'm able. I'm
Mhm.
certainly not rich. I think everybody knows that.
Yeah.
But
This
if I
economy,
can
nobody
help, I
is.
will.
Right.
And if I can't give you financial support, you can come here and I will feed you and you can stay with me. I will never let my children
Right.
suffer in that way if there's anything at all I can do.
Mhm.
Um, so, when I see, I know how it is
Mhm.
to have financial issues and to not know from one day to the next how certain bills are going to get paid.
Mhm.
Um, my children never did without food,
Mhm.
but they may remember times that our water got shut off or our
Mhm.
electricity got shut off, and I had to scrounge around and get some money to get things paid and
Mhm.
turned back on. I mean, it was tough when they were younger, and I hope they don't remember those times, but they
If
may.
they do, he never said anything to me.
Um, but I know how that feels, and I
Right.
know how stressful that is.
Mhm.
And I don't want my children to have to deal with that.
Right.
Do I think it humbles you and maybe in some ways makes you a better person? Sure.
Mhm.
But um, I don't want them to have to do without if I can help it.
Right.
Now, I don't think that I haven't been able to say, hey, here's $10,000. Go take
Right.
the vacation of your dreams and
Right.
tell me about it. Send me lots of pictures. I
Right.
am not in the position to be able to do that.
Right.
Maybe someday, but not right now.
One
But
day.
I do want to help if I can with
Right.
even if it's just little things like a vacuum cleaner. It's
Ugh.
just it's important to me that um, it's just something that I like doing,
Right.
and yeah, I want to help people that I love.
See, that's what we have in common. We just want to help people we love and see the best in
Mm-hmm.
people that we can.
Yeah, yeah,
I know. We're beyond extremely blessed for everything that you've done for us since the moment
it
that
has
we've
been
met
my
each other.
pleasure. It
Like,
has been my pleasure, and it's important also that you know that a gift is a gift. A gift is not a loan. So
I'm
while you
still paying you
say
back.
you're going to pay me back, and Bethany will say that I'm going to pay you back, I just know that I don't expect that. If you are a millionaire someday and you want to pay me back or you want to let me come live with you and I'm 90, then
You'll live
okay.
with me no
I'll
matter
let you
whether.
pay me back that way.
There we go.
But I don't want you to think that I'm keeping records. I have no idea what any exchanges have been. That's not something that matters to me.
I think it's more of, we view it as a gift, but we also, as children, like, especially for Adam and I, we like being independent. We like having that aspect, but this economy does not enjoy independent people.
Right?
It does not like people who want to be able to survive in
Mm-hmm.
sustain, like, just be able to sustain like a lifestyle of independency. So I feel like we also feel like we were raised to be so independent that we feel like burdens when we ask for
Mm-hmm.
financial help and a loan.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's another reason why we're like, we're gonna pay you back, because ultimately, although you may not view it as you're burdening us or that it's something we have to do, it's just kind of something more for ourselves
Mm-hmm.
specifically. We just don't want you to think that we're not grateful. And I know you don't think that we are. You don't
Right,
like
right.
view that we don't aren't thankful for what you've done. Like, we're beyond thankful, that, and that's why we want to pay you back, because we're so beyond
Mm-hmm.
thankful for what you've done for us that you deserve to be able to see what you gave us back, kind of thing. So
And I understand what you're saying, and I
yeah.
appreciate that. I think just the fact that you are appreciative, as is
Mhm.
Bethany, as is Jacob, even though, he's still at home, and he's my responsibility to feed
Right.
him and clothe him and provide shelter for him and all of those things.
The little almost
He's also
16-year
very,
old. Right.
yeah, he's very appreciative of what he gets. Um, Honestly, that in and of itself is all any parent, I think, would ever hope for, is
Mhm.
that you just don't expect it or take advantage of it, but that you appreciate it.
Right.
And I promise you, someday, if and when you have children, you will find yourself in the same situation,
Mhm.
and you will know exactly what I'm talking about at this
Right.
exact moment,
Mhm.
because you're going to do what you can to help support your children with no expectation in
Mhm.
return, but just know that you have raised good people, that they have
Mhm.
turned out to be wonderful, amazing humans,
Mhm.
and that's all any parent could ever ask for. There's no dollar sign you can put on that.
Right.
You just are so proud that they are good people.
Mhm.
Um, and so a little vacuum cleaner here and there is not, it's not a burden to
Well,
me. If I couldn't do it, I wouldn't.
right.
But if I can, I will. And I just, I
Mhm.
want to support you all as best I can.
Ugh, you're so sweet. I love you. That's another thing I love absolutely about you, is you're literally the kindest person. That's what, like, what I was saying earlier. Like, I know you said that you had to, like, not so much fight, but like you've had to really change your mindset. I'm like, you would have never known. You're literally one of the sweetest people I've ever met. Like, your name may be Karen, but you're the most anti-Karen I've ever met in my entire existence. You're
Well, I
so
try.
sweet and you're so patient. Like, that's my thing. And like, I witnessed, just like, you're so patient, and you're just, like I said, you're so elegant. Like, you have just this elegancy about you that, like, I just, like, Adam and I talk about all the time, like, we would, like, love, not like so much to be like you, but there are aspects about you that I would love to bring into my own personality and all of that. And you're so patient with the mistakes that, like, we've made in general, and all that kind of
Honey, I've
stuff.
made way more myself in my years than you have in your
My
25.
25 years of existence. I don't know,
I
you're so kind, and you have just this energy about you that I hope not just myself but our kids also turn out like you, and like my own mother. My own mother has like this, I tell her all the time, cuz my mom was the kind of mom who, even if it was in her work scrubs, she still showed up. And she
Mhm.
tells me, like over the past few years, she's told me, she's like, I regret not being present. And I'm like, I don't think you realize you were more present than you may have thought. Like,
Mhm.
I was like, I couldn't have cared less what you showed up in, unless it was obviously inappropriate. But like, I couldn't care less that you showed up in work scrubs. I'm just happy that I scanned the crowd and I saw your face. And like,
Yes.
my mom didn't, like, my senior year. I was in marching band and all that, and they have a senior night for like band kids and all that. And my mom didn't know she was gonna come, so I was gonna be like the only senior without a
Oh.
parent. And my mom showed up in her, like, whatever,
Mhm.
like, she showed up, and that's all I cared about. And I tell my
Wow.
mom all the time, I was like, I understood why you, quote unquote, buried yourself in your work. I understand it, because you were trying to provide for your family. Like, and I never
Mhm.
viewed that as something wrong.
Mhm.
I hate that, like, she like, and like parents in general feel like they didn't show up. So I'm just, I guess I'm grateful for just all the patience and just the fact that you show up for Adam and myself and for Bethany and Jake, because sometimes people don't get that opportunity to have their parents show up. And I guess it's another thing I love about you. No matter what situation you ask, it's question, you do something and then you ask questions later, basically. And like, I know in some situations you probably should ask questions. But like in the sense of like support, like to go back to the support, and like you ask questions later and you support now. And that's all any like it's that's one thing I love about you as well. It's just you always show up. You always like I don't know, like this is gonna sound whatever, but like you do so much and like you do the most. And not like in the sense of like you're doing the most, but like you always just there's just such an amazing energy about you, and I could go on and on about you, Karen.
I could even like it's
Let
not even it doesn't
me
even sink in. I feel like your words are just floating out here because I'm like, wow, I want to meet this person she's talking about. Wow.
No, like I don't
Sounds
think like that's
amazing.
like when I said this earlier, is like I don't think you realize my camera does not want to focus.
Yeah.
Hello. Anyways, I was like, I don't think you realize is that you are the person that I'm talking about. You already are that person. Um, and sometimes I know like you can get in your own head, and like as somebody who gets in her own little head all the time,
Mhm.
you can feel like you're not that person. You can feel like you're not doing as much as you think you should, but I think you do more than what you should. I think you do so much more than you realize. Your kindness and love for me has never been wavering, and you're always so welcoming. Like
Well,
I
I'm glad.
just I it like literally it didn't even take a minute of me being introduced before you were just so welcoming. You're like I couldn't care less what status you are to my child. You're still welcomed here.
Right.
Unless you're like an absolute
Absolutely.
enemy, then get out of here.
Yeah.
But like
Yeah.
in
I
the
think
sense of like romantic wise, sorry.
no, I just think that like you said, unless you're really a terrible person or being mean to my child, you know, I'm gonna I'm gonna accept you for who
Mhm.
you are
Right.
as a person.
Mhm.
If you had been a friend of Bethany's that she brought for Thanksgiving,
Mhm.
I would have felt, I'm gonna be nice to you.
Right.
If Bethany or Adam or Jacob, I trust their judgment
Mhm.
in people.
Mhm.
Um, in fact, they're probably a little, how do I say it? Especially Adam and Bethany, maybe the word that comes to mind is judgmental, and I don't
Be
mean it
too
in a negative
cautious.
way. Cautious,
Yeah.
that's a good word. They're more cautious in who they let in
Mhm.
than maybe me. Um, and that's not a bad thing, that's a good
Right.
thing. So if Adam felt comfortable bringing you to meet our nutty family, then he must have pretty good, idea of about the kind of person that
Mhm.
you are, and that you're going to be okay with us as well. Because it's not
Right.
just about us being okay with
Mhm.
you; it's about you being okay with us. So if he
Especially
felt that
Adam.
way,
Right.
yeah, then I'm if he loves you, I'm gonna love you. And now I'll love you even if he doesn't.
That's
Right here.
right. I totally agree with that. Especially with Adam. He's so cautious about who he lets into his life.
Mm-hmm.
He's a
Mm-hmm.
very, very private person. So,
Mm-hmm.
for any of my podcast listeners, if you're wondering why he may not be not friendly, but he may be standoffish, it's not because he doesn't want to be friends with you. He's got to gather, quote unquote, the evidence as to why he should
Mm-hmm.
allow you. And that may sound so cruel or
It's
so
very
like
fair.
whatever, but
Mhm.
ultimately, like, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong
Right.
with wanting to
That's some
confirm.
self-preservation right there.
Right.
Most of us could benefit from being
Like,
more
there's
cautious.
nothing wrong with, like, being cautious of who you want to let in your
Mm-hmm.
life, because they can definitely alter your, like, future.
Mm-hmm.
Some people definitely are meant to come in and then leave. But,
Right.
he's very cautious, and think that's a good reason why he would be great for the memories podcast
Yeah.
because he
Yeah.
probably could benefit from talking about some
Mhm.
of his own childhood memories and why he's
Mhm.
the way he is. But no, I'm telling you, I could literally go for hours and hours about you, girl. I love you so much. It's ridiculous. I can't ever stop talking about how much I love you. You're just literally everything about you is I know you probably I won't call you perfect because nobody's ever perfect, but you are
Please don't call me
right
perfect.
below perfect. You
Oh
are
my goodness.
teetering. Some days you're perfect and some days you're not.
Oh,
But
never
just
ever
literally
perfect.
everything about you and just like how open you are, like how willing you're able like willing to hear somebody out like with
Mhm.
like all my own mental health issues, you've never been judgmental of me talking about that. Like you're not judgmental and you're so open and willing to have these discussions with me, and that's why I think you're a great podcast partner, because you're willing to be open to have those type of discussions. And it probably doesn't help that you work like in mental health field so you've
Mhm.
probably had multiple of these conversations with random strangers up to coworkers.
Mhm.
So, you just it's a breath of fresh air to be able to have an open-minded mother-in-law. We
Yes.
mesh well. We are never in competition with each other.
Mhm.
We can have conversations literally for hours, clearly.
Literally.
Literally, this is why we're starting a podcast because we can literally talk for hours about things. And you're never not true to yourself. Like you're just always you are who you, like I said, you're so authentic. Like even if you don't feel like you are sometimes, you genuinely are who I tell people you are. Like it's like it almost kind of felt insulting when people were like, Karen really is like you said. I was like, I know, I wouldn't lie.
You didn't
Karen's
believe
I was
me?
like, Karen's literally one. And that's never to say you don't have a bad day. Everybody has bad day. We're literally human beings. We're supposed to have
Mhm.
bad days. But even in your bad day, you're still so kind and true, and you never make anybody feel like they have to like wear the burden as well with you. And like obviously sometimes I can be a little unhealthy. Like you got to talk to people about your problem. Not to say that you're being unhealthy. Just like, there's nothing wrong with talking to people, but you never burden people. Like when you talk to people about your problems, it's not so much to burden them with it. It's just to
Mhm.
kind of like have a discussion with them about it and just
Right.
talk
I
about it.
learned, I guess when I first I've only had maybe one or two jobs where I was a supervisor of other people.
Mhm.
I learned this was when I still lived in Ohio.
Mhm.
There was just a situation going on at work. I supervised, I don't know, 10 or 12 people. And it was about an office move, and we
Mhm.
were all about to move to a different location.
Mhm.
And it was around the holidays. So
Mhm.
several people were really stressed out about it. They were really
Mhm.
unhappy about it.
Mhm.
Some didn't want to move. Some were upset because they had taken time off at the holidays. They were going
Mhm.
to have to come back to pack all of their things up to be ready to move.
Mhm.
And there was a lot of people coming to me individually
Mhm.
expressing their frustration.
Mhm.
And it became so overwhelming to me
Mhm.
because I was taking all of these um, upset people and their upset and frustrated feelings,
Mhm.
and they felt better because they kind of got it off their chest. Okay, here's what I'm
Mhm.
feeling. Okay, thanks for listening. I
Right.
got the vent. They felt better. I felt like everything they had said was stuck to me now. So
Mhm.
now I'm trying to deal with and process all of their frustrations.
Right.
And I ended up calling my supervisor, and I was bawling on the phone.
Mm.
I'm like, I'm a professional. I'm supposed to be able to handle this.
Right.
But first and foremost, I'm a human, and I can
Right.
only take so much of other
Mhm.
people's burdens that for me to carry. Like this was too much for me to
Right.
carry. There was also a lot going on at home with my now ex-husband, um, with other
Mhm.
family members. It was a very stressful time.
Right.
It was a very low, low, low point
Mhm.
in my life where I was like, wow, I just don't even know. Like, how am I
Mhm.
going to keep going? If
Mhm.
this is as good as it gets, if this is it right here, I don't think I can do this.
Right.
And I sobbed on the phone to my boss. I cried at night instead of sleeping. It was a terrible, terrible
Mhm.
time. And I made myself a promise at that point that I would not burden other people with
Right.
my issues.
Right.
Not to say that I wouldn't talk about them or
Right.
express if I was having a bad day, but I think it's really important when we do vent to someone, and sometimes we all need to. It's
Right.
healthy. Make sure that the person that you're venting to is in a place that they are
Exactly.
able to handle it.
Right.
Ask them, I need to get this off my chest. Do you think you can handle listening to me for the
Right.
next 30 minutes about
Mhm.
my frustration with A, B, and C?
Mhm.
And if you're the person that they come to
Mhm.
and they ask you that, make sure you are honest with them. Hey, you
Exactly.
know what? I'm really struggling myself right now. I would
Mhm.
love to listen to you, and I'm so sorry you're dealing with some things. I
Mhm.
just don't feel like I'm the best person right now for this conversation.
Right.
So it's taking care of yourself.
Mhm.
It's not being selfish. It's like we talked
Right.
about before. It's setting the boundaries
Mhm.
because sometimes everybody venting to you um, is too much. It's
Right.
just not
Right.
something
For sure.
everybody can manage.
Mhm.
So I have had to learn through some of that I don't want to be that person that burdens other people. I will
Mhm.
go to someone and say, "Oh my gosh, I'm so frustrated. I need to vent." And
For
they say,
sure.
"Bring it on. Like, what you got? What's going on?"
I got you, girl.
And I'll probably unload on them.
Mhm.
Thank you for listening. I feel better. Um, I just needed to say it.
Right.
Another way I will vent or express my frustration, this is my favorite way to do it, is to write. Now, when I say write,
Mhm.
I mean get on my computer and start typing.
Mhm.
And what's in my head, because a lot of times what happens is I'll think about things in my head and these thoughts just sort of overcome me. I'm
Mhm.
so frustrated about this. I'm so hurt about this. And if I don't think it's good to tell the person that's hurt me or the person that I'm frustrated with,
Mhm.
if I don't think we're in a good place for me to be able to express that to them, I'll type a letter to that person.
Mhm.
Here's what I'm feeling. Here's how what you said made me feel.
Right.
Here's why I made the decision I made. I understand that might not be the decision you would have made or the one you wanted me to make. This is why I did it. And then I never do anything with the letter. I don't
Mhm.
send it. I just get it out of here
Right.
onto some paper, and then I can clear my head.
Mhm.
So that's a lot of times that's the way I will.
Mhm.
That's
Say
how I process
a
it.
lot
Yeah.
of say a lot of therapists will recommend writing. A
Mm-hmm.
lot of
It's
therapists
my
recommended.
favorite, and I always feel like I'm much better with written expression than I am with verbal
Right.
expression. I feel like that is my forte. That's my
Mhm.
outlet. Um, Not that I'm going to write a book or anything, but
Maybe you
that's where
should.
I feel the safest.
Right.
I have learned to be more okay with public speaking. I
Mhm.
remember the first time I had to do public speak. Well, in college, I had to take a speech class.
Mhm.
My Lord, if I could have had some anxiety medication back then,
Would have downed the whole bottle.
we didn't talk about anxiety and medication back when I was in college, but man, I
Uh-huh.
could have used some. I was so stressed.
Right.
But then I found myself a few years later in a job that I had to do a public presentation about my
Mhm.
job and what I did and how it worked and why we did what we did. And it was a like a auditorium full of
Mhm.
people, teachers and stuff. And um, I just thought, you know what? You know your subject matter. You know what you're talking
Right.
about. You could tell anybody, any one of these people that walked up to me one on one,
Mhm.
I could tell them the same thing.
Right.
So it was sort of okay, I'm just going to have a one on one conversation with people. And I'm going to tell them about my job and what I do.
Mhm.
And I wasn't nervous in front of this whole group of people. And when I walked away, I was like, that was wild because
Mhm.
that's never happened before. Usually I'm about ready to throw up and
Mhm.
I'm so nervous, my voice is quivering. And it was
Mhm.
breakthrough moment for me. And
Mhm.
so from that point on, I was like, okay, I can do this. I can talk to
Mhm.
people. If people are receptive to what I'm saying, that makes it
Wow.
that makes it
Mhm.
easier.
Right.
And if you're confident in what you're talking about.
For sure.
So from that point on, it hasn't really bothered me. But
Mhm.
again, I'm still better with written
I
word.
feel that. No, a lot of therapists fully recommend it because there's also situations where you have to walk away, like even in my
Mm-hmm.
marriage, never to talk about like topics of why arguments happen, but there have been times where like we've had to just walk away because
Mm-hmm.
having a conversation you become a broken record, and if you keep repeating the same thing and it goes literally nowhere, it's much healthier just walk away from the situation
Mm-hmm.
and then go write about what you're genuinely feeling, so that way you
Mm-hmm.
can actually gather your thoughts and be able to come back to that discussion and have a
Right.
much more
Right.
productive
Yes.
conversation with your
Absolutely.
significant
Have
other.
a clearer mindset.
Exactly.
You've
For
given yourself
sure.
time to
Mhm.
bring it back down, bring that
Mhm.
energy level back to a more
Exactly,
even
for sure.
keel.
For sure.
Yeah.
I'll say another thing to kind of go off of like talking to your friends about seeing if they're okay. The biggest thing that me and Sophie, one of my absolute best friends, do, we call it our spoons. Do you have enough spoons to talk to me today? And especially because she's a mother of three and like one, her eldest, and then a set of twins, and she's married and she's got all that. Sometimes her spoons can disappear a lot quicker because her
Mm-hmm.
family takes priority over her friendships, as it should. And the biggest thing we just do is like, do you have enough spoons for me today to be able to talk to you about something that's been on my mind that I've repeated to my husband 20 bajillion times, and he's probably tired of, because I'm the kind of person in certain situations, I have to re-repeat what happened for my brain to fully grasp everything that happened. So, repeating it to my husband, Adam, several times, he's probably tired of me saying it over and over again. So, Sophie's usually my second in command when it comes to reaching out. And I like to hold the same space for her to be able to reach out to me and be like, "Do you have enough spoons for me today? Because I don't have enough and I just really need to talk to somebody about not having enough spoons and talk to me about what's going on." So that's
Mm-hmm.
I definitely agree with
Mm-hmm.
confirming with the person that they have quote unquote enough spoons for you for the day,
Right.
because
Right.
somebody, one of your other friends might have enough spoons for you. And I know sometimes it can get frustrating to want, like, you want to talk to this specific person because you know that they hold a constant safe space for you and you want all that, but sometimes they don't have that, no, they don't have enough for you. So it's okay to, like, for you to be honest with your friend and be like, I don't have enough space for you
Right.
today. I
Right.
don't have enough space for a lot of things, unfortunately, let
Mm-hmm.
alone especially a conversation where you need the space to be able to
Right.
expand your emotions. And I just,
Mm-hmm.
my emotions are being cubed up enough. I just, with your emotions on top of it, too many cubes in one corner here.
Right. I think another important thing to ask, if I come to you and say, I really need to vent about something,
Mm-hmm.
um, for the listener to say, okay, I do have the capacity to hear what you're saying, but I want to know, do you want advice or do you just want
Mm-hmm.
me to listen?
Right.
Because unsolicited advice, um, most of the time, does not get adhered to. It's what
Mm-hmm.
I would tell you that, I think you should do, or what I would do if I was in your
Right.
situation. But ask the person, if that's what do they want? What do they need from you? Do
Exactly.
you just need me to listen? Do you want me to, go with you somewhere and we'll address
Mm-hmm.
this head on? Do you want me to give you feedback?
Right, like, how do you want me to present myself to you in this situation?
Yes.
Do you
What do
just
you need from
right,
me?
like, now that
Mm-hmm.
I've confirmed with you that I've got enough space for you, how do you want to fill
Mm-hmm.
that space? Do you want to fill that space
Right.
with me just open mind, open whatever, literally just hearing you out? Um, that was one of the biggest things my parents definitely struggled with, when it came to, and I've had discussions with them. I've had to like tell my mom, like, I'm not here to get advice.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like, it's not that I don't appreciate that you want to help me figure out how to solve the situation. It's
Mm-hmm.
I just need somebody to hear me out, and
Right.
that's it. I just need somebody to listen to me because I feel like I'm not being heard by the person that's in the situation with me, and I just need somebody to hear me out.
Mm-hmm.
So
I
I
think interesting.
definitely recommend being like, how
Yeah,
do you need me to present myself to you now?
right. Another thing, we, sorry,
Hello, Olive. Your best friend sitting in his chair, still sound asleep.
I think we also need to find out before those conversations is, are you telling me this because you're looking for some affirmation or some
Mm-hmm.
confirmation that you're doing the right thing, or do you want honesty or do you want sympathy?
Right.
Do you want me to tell you what I really think if you do want my feedback,
Mm-hmm.
or do you want me to help you feel supported and
Right.
agree with you,
Mm-hmm.
or be like, yeah, I understand? You know, there's a balance there. I
Mm-hmm.
think of sometimes honesty can hurt, can sting a little bit. Sympathy doesn't do a lot of good if you're trying to
Mm-hmm.
solve a problem.
Right.
It does well if that's what that person needs.
Right.
But I think you can also find the balance. So
Right.
that's another important conversation to have when you're finding out,
Mm-hmm.
do you have space for this? Do you,
For sure.
what do you want from me?
Mm-hmm.
And are you okay if I tell you what I'm really thinking, and
Right.
it doesn't make me feel so good?
For sure. Sometimes
Yeah.
I do feel like sympathy and honesty can kind of coincide. You can sympathize to the
Mm-hmm.
fact that they're in the situation, but you
Right.
still need to be honest with them at times too. I
Absolutely.
do agree
Yeah.
that sometimes sympathy does not get things figured out, especially if you're
Mm-hmm.
looking for resolution in
Mm-hmm.
situations. I definitely think, as many people say, honesty is the best policy in that situation. But there's definitely never anything wrong with being like, I do sympathize that you are in this situation. Just know that
Absolutely. I'm so sorry you're
it's
going through this.
right. Just know
Okay.
that it's
Right.
not probably the best, or like, just know that, like, I'm still gonna give you the true. And that's one thing I love about you is like, no matter what, you're still gonna be honest with me. You may think I'm absolutely not doing the correct thing, but there, I love the fact that you're willing to be like, I don't think you're doing the right thing here. I love you,
But I'm not going to
but
say that unless someone asks me,
right.
do you
Like,
think I'm doing the right thing? And even
exactly.
then, I'm going to say, look, what you're doing is not the right thing for me, but it might be the right thing for
Right.
you.
Mhm.
So I can tell you from my perspective, but I'm not you. And I don't
Exactly.
know all the factors and all the elements that go
Mhm.
into your decision or what you're doing.
Right.
And so I think you just, you have to keep that open mind.
Mhm.
And maybe that's where you say kind, and I don't know some of the other words, but I think that's where that comes from, is that I'm never going to claim to know what's best for someone else.
Right.
Um, and even with Jacob as a teenager and
Mhm.
my other kids as a teenager, that's one of the biggest struggles as a parent, is
Mhm.
because it's my job to do what's best for him, and
Mhm.
to make sure that um, he gets his homework done, and that all of the things that he has to do are done.
Mhm.
Um, but at the same time, it's my job to make sure he gets to school. Challenging as a parent,
Mhm.
but hopefully I find that balance, and just
Mhm.
provide support, provide advice if I'm asked. I'll provide it
Right.
if I'm not asked.
I think
That's the
you're
key to being a good
right.
mother-in-law right there. You only give advice when
Only
you're
give advice when asked. No, I think
asked.
personally, from an outsider looking in, I think you're an amazing mother. And I know you may feel like some days you're not, but that's another thing I love about you is you're genuinely an unconditionally amazing mother. I think you give everything you can to your children, and I think you've made some of the best kids in this world. I say, well, we
Thank
can
you.
finish it out if you would like to finish it out. If you were like ready for, I can finish it out. You don't have to.
Yeah.
If you're ready
Uh,
to end the podcast now, I can end
I'll
it.
just say really quick, um, if you have listened to us for as long as we've been talking today, thank you for hanging in there with us. Um, I hope that you will join us again, because we will have plenty more things to talk about.
We've got a lot to discuss. I'll say yes to kind of bounce off of that. If you haven't already, we would absolutely love it if you gave us a quick subscribe to our YouTube channel, as well as liking and commenting. Give us a comment about what you think would be a good topic to discuss. We could talk literally for hours about anything if you haven't gathered that already. So, by all means, definitely leave us a comment of what you would like to see us discuss in the future. Also, don't forget to give us a quick share with your friends. We know we would absolutely love it if you shared us with your friends. We're pretty great people, so we like to think we would be pretty great people for your friends. Also, hit that notification bell, that way you can be notified every time we go and post a video for you guys, like a fun little podcast. Also, in our description box, there is an Instagram account. We would love it if you gave us a quick follow there. That way you can get any updates on when we're posting, any fun little photos of Karen and I, and just fun little things to interact with. It's be extra content over on our Instagram. So, yes, I hope you guys have been enjoying your time. Like Karen said, we would love to have you back again. We'll talk for hours. With that being said, though, this has been Coffee with Milk, and we will see you guys next time. Bye!